So let's reiterate what we were talking about. We're working on guard retention this week. Guard retention is our ability to stop someone from passing our guard. And as beginners, this is our top priority in jiu-jitsu. What we worked on last class was defending the double underhooks in 3 different stages: early stage defense, a middle stage defense, and then a late stage defense. We're going to keep that same format for tonight's lesson, but we're going to be addressing the half guard position. Now, the half guard, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a very simple position. It's where I have one leg trapped on my opponent's body. So this is the half guard position. One of his legs is in my guard, his other leg is outside of my guard, hence half guard. Now, what we're going to look at today is how to get back to a safe spot when we find ourselves in the half guard. Now, the half guard can be a very offensive and powerful position. However, it's a very difficult position to master, which means that you should focus on using the half guard as a transitional tool to get back to a seated or full guard. So the same way that we worked on that warm-up drill of staying here on our bottom, we want to try to get back to this spot if possible. Now, let's talk about the context. Why would we end up in a half guard here? Maybe my partner is trying to pass my guard on the feet, and perhaps I do a good job of off-balancing him and knocking him over. But now we end up here in a half guard position. If I don't know what to do, he can start to get underneath, underhook, get his crossface or an over-under position, and now start to pass my guard and make my life miserable. And now, of course, I'm getting my guard passed. So let's start with an early stage defense. How would we prevent them from flattening us out, getting the underhook, and then cross-facing us? So what we're going to look at is a shell position today. So from here, I'm going to keep one leg hooked underneath his foot. So we can rotate here so you guys can see what we're referring to. So notice how my leg that's on the bottom is actively hooking underneath his ankle. This knee can even be framing up on his hip. If we rotate back, so notice how my knee can even be framing up on his hip. Now, if you don't have the flexibility or the leg length to keep this frame here, that's okay. You can keep your knee on the mat. But I want to make sure that I have as many frames as I can to prevent my opponent from controlling my upper body. So again, I'm hooking my foot down on his ankle. My top leg is going to be stepping on his hip with my knee roughly on his shoulder right here. My hands will now create a series of frames to defend this position. So my top forearm is right against his throat with my elbow connected to my knee, and my right hand is on his elbow pit right over here to prevent him from getting to the crossface. This is a very good half guard shell position, so we can think of it like my arms and legs are creating a shell to prevent him from moving towards me. Now, what I need to do is if he starts to encroach on my territory and push forward towards me, I need to create a frame to allow me to create space and hip escape. So we have 2 options. Option number 1, I grab the collar and I create a stiff arm. Or in no-gi, I could palm the face and turn his head away. Either way, I'm now going to open up my back elbow and post my hand behind me to create a nice strong kickstand. Once I'm here, my heels will come in and I simply hip escape and come back to a seated guard. So now I went from a position where it was slightly precarious. I had one leg in, one leg out. You could think of it like he was halfway past my guard, to a much safer spot where I'm in a seated position here. All of my weapons are pointing at my opponent. So let's look again. Our setup will be this. My partner's going to sit down on their knees. My leg is in the middle. Notice how my body is on its side. Last class, or last Thursday rather, we talked about how my back should be used as a frame. If I'm flat, now he's getting his control that he needs. I want to stay on my side here. My foot is on his hip. My knee is connected to his shoulder. And notice how Coach Seth is giving me some feedback. He's not simply sitting back here like this. If Coach Seth was trying to pass my guard, he wouldn't be sitting back here. He'd be trying to move forward. So see how I need to really be adamant in blocking his forward progress. Now from here, we're going to create a frame. I'll go for the collar this time. I'll stiff arm with a thumb down grip. Notice I'm reinforcing my elbow with my top knee. Now I'm going to build up onto my arm, hip escape, and come right back to my seated guard. Let's go ahead and work this with a few repetitions. So we'll go 2 for 2, okay? So my partner's going to put me on my back. Perhaps they do the ankle lever. They're going to go to the half guard position. I need to set up the shell and then hip escape to come back to the seated guard. All right, let's take a look at that one more time. I'll show it without talking. So he's going to ankle lever and put me on my back. Now I'm back to a seated guard position. Okay, guys? We'll do a side view real quick so that way we can see what it looks like from the profile. So again, he puts me on my back. Now notice how he's going to half guard. He's forcing this position, which requires me to start to create a series of frames to block his forward progress. From here, I can now start to rotate and break his posture by turning him away from me as I build up onto my back arm. This should be very familiar, guys, for everyone who was with us last class. This elbow post is matching the force vector he would drive into me, very similar to how we defended the double unders last time. My heels come in, I hip escape, and reset my headlights. Early stage, right? I'm doing everything well. I'm blocking my opponent's forward progress, and I'm getting back out to seated guard. Any questions, guys? Oh, okay. Not all at once, please. That's okay. Eric, I'll start with you.
When your leg's on his hip,
yeah.
Use that to help push for your hip escape.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So my knees and my hands are all working together in tandem to help me create space between the two of us, so that way I can then hip escape and come back out. Yeah, great question. Woo, there we go. Teamwork. LJ, go ahead. Yeah. Hmm?
What's the best way to avoid when you're down in that half position like this?
Yeah.
Your leg being grapevine, and then your leg being hyperextended the other way.
So like where my partner goes like arm weave underneath here like this?
No, with their leg. They're doing it with their leg. They're grapevining your leg with the half arm.
Yeah.
Just spread your leg and hyperextend your leg.
We're still going to create a frame and hip escape, right? So if he's trying to like stretch my legs out like this, the top leg? Come on over, Edja. Can you do it to me? Yeah, come here.
So if you're not talking to me, if you're in the half guard
Okay.
underneath you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm right here, but I'm grapevining your leg, but then I'm pulling your
Oh,
leg.
so you're doing what's called a lockdown.
Right.
Lockdown is an entirely different position. Lockdown, honestly, is not that difficult to escape from. We just need to step on the foot to recircle our leg to get to the inside position so we can bring the leg. No, you're good, you're good. No, I totally understand, yeah. So that's a position called the lockdown. There's an entire system to how to defeat the lockdown, so we can work on that in due time. But great question, LJ. I'll come around and show you some stuff there. Okay, guys, so let's try this real quick. Early stage defense, using that half guard shell to hip escape and get back to seated guard. Let's go, 1, 2. Let's move now into the middle stage defense. The middle stage defense, it should be your last stop when it comes to escaping from or defending the half guard and regaining the position. Because if you're getting put into late stage defensive positions, then obviously your guard retention needs some work. So we want to try to prevent late stage as much as possible, similar with the double unders. However, we're going to find ourselves in a position where our opponent beats the top knee and they're starting to get their chest-to-chest connection. So now they're beating the frames that we've created to block their forward momentum, and they're starting to work to pin us down. Now, what we are trying to do here is we're trying to anticipate when my frame that's blocking him here with my arm fails. Because what I need to do now is notice how Coach Seth has gotten his body in front of his knee. This was our goal when we were passing from this position. The knee is the most powerful tool that I can use to keep his weight off of me. So if he beats the knee and gets in front of it, now my top arm is sort of the thing that I need to use to keep him off. But his body versus this arm is a losing battle. So as he starts to drive into me, I don't want him to flatten me out. If he flattens me out, now we're in the late stage. We're going to talk about what to do in that situation next. So what we're going to do instead is, as I feel him starting to collapse this top arm, notice how I'm still blocking the crossface, guys. Don't be lazy with this, okay? If I'm letting go and blocking his knee or his hip, that does nothing, okay? His knees and hips are not going to pin me down. The crossface will. So I stay on my side. I block that crossface like my life depends on it. So as I feel my top frame starting to collapse, I'm actually going to fold my own arm underneath me. This is going to allow me to get the underhook. He wants the underhook on my body to control my rotation. I want the underhook for the exact same reason. This will now allow me to shift his center of gravity and come up into a stronger position. Let's look at that again. So as he's driving in, he beat my knee. He's now really fighting this top frame. So instead of just fighting till the bitter end and then getting flattened out, I'm going to say to myself, you know what? This is a losing battle. I'm going to collapse my own frame and tuck my elbow in. Now I can get the underhook. Once I have the underhook, guys, everything's going to be the same as we did before. My head is gonna access his body as a frame. So I'm gonna start to come up here, and I'm starting to use my head to push his spine back so I can build up onto my elbow. With this underhook, I can prevent him from smashing me down to the floor. Now you have a lot of options. For those of you who like working from this position, you can start to shuck to attack the back. For those of you who are familiar, you can start to wrestle up for the far side knee tap. Or what I recommend for right now as a very beginner-friendly option is to simply start to create your distance with a hip escape. So we're using that underhook to create space and get away from our opponent. Here's a key detail. The underhook is worthless if you've already been pinned down. So if my opponent has already pinned my back onto the mat and I get an underhook, nice. Now he's cross-facing me, he's pinned my shoulders. Here you go, wait, I got an underhook, coach, everything's okay. Not gonna happen. The middle stage battle is where I'm preventing him from flattening me out, and I am opting to get my underhook. So notice, as I feel that, I'm using regulated tension to feel when my frame is collapsing. Instead of letting him control it, I bring my own arm down, and I slide in nice and close. Now that I'm here, notice how my left arm lifts, and I get my underhook. You can grab the belt, just make sure you grab the material behind it, or you can just cup the hip. Now, just like we did before, I'm gluing my body to him, I open the elbow out. Notice, I don't want to keep it close. If I keep it close, he grabs it and pins. I open it out, and now from here, I'm gonna start to hip escape and get my distance. Let's see that one more time. I'll show it from the front without talking. Now, again, we're anticipating that our opponent is only primarily focused on driving us down. You know, some of us were asking, well, what if we like come up into a knee cut? What if we like go for an arm weave? And of course, these are all very good technical things for the top person to do, but we're just using this as a transitional position to get back to guard. You know, we're not worried about all the advanced movements that a top person can do right now. So let's use this to separate ourselves from our opponent and get back to guard. Okay, middle stage defense now, guys. Any questions? Go ahead, Devin. I just find it's comfortable to have my feet connected to each other because I can almost always have a platform that I can trust, right? Sometimes the mat tends to slip out from underneath me. If I'm stepping on my own foot, it really gives me a nice little pedestal to push off of. It's honestly personal preference. I just do it because my legs are long and lanky and they have to go somewhere, so I like to just put them on each other. But yeah, you can just put your feet on the mat. That's totally fine. Okay, what's up? Not necessarily, actually. You don't have to do this one super fast. As long as I control the space and I purposely collapse and I keep my elbow tight to deny the underhook, I can slide it in there pretty easily and secure the underhook position. But once I do secure the underhook position, don't dawdle. As soon as I get it, build up onto the elbow and then start to create your space. Okay, again, I just want to remind you guys, you can attack offensively from this spot as well, but for our guard retention sort of module, let's worry about creating space and resetting the seated position. Any questions? Middle stage, let's go, 1, 2. Okay guys, so remember we're giving you a lot of options, but hopefully you only need one. Hopefully you only need that early stage option because you don't ever give them the opportunity to pin you down in the first place. Now, unfortunately, that's not how life works, and the reality is you're going to have someone pin you down in the top half guard position. They're going to cross face you, they're going to underhook you, and life is gonna be miserable. So, let's talk about late stage defense. We've lost every battle. They're now on top of us, top half guard. They flattened me out. They beat the top knee frame. They're cross facing me. They have the underhook here. Life, it's not great. But don't worry. We're here to learn how to escape in this position and get back to guard. So first things first, I need to deal with this posture break. His shoulder, his cross face is turning me away. If I just sit here and try to violently rotate out of this position, you're going to injure yourself. Recognize that he has broken your posture and you need to fix that. And generally, out-strengthening them does not fix problems. So we're gonna try to have a technique for this. So what we're gonna do here is, as he's cross-facing me, I can't turn in, right? I'm not just gonna go and explode out. What I'm gonna do here, the hand that's closest to his hips, I'm gonna cup his shoulder, and now I'm gonna turn away from him just slightly so I can protrude my shoulder into his bicep. This creates a small opening where I can now turn my body back in and create a tight jaw frame, where I'm actually gonna use my jaw to frame and prevent the crossface. Now, it goes without saying, this is not a comfortable position, but it's better than being cross-faced, and we're not gonna stay here for long. So let's look at that again. He's cross-facing me, I cup the shoulder, I turn away slightly so I can lift my elbow, or my shoulder rather, up into his shoulder and armpit. I'm now gonna turn in towards him and keep a tight jaw. I'm talking to you, so I'm not gonna be demonstrating necessarily the total strong jaw position, but again, you'll be tight with your teeth, making sure that you're strong here with your jaw and you're staying tight against his body. Now, what about this underhook? I've beaten the crossface. Now the alignment battle is somewhat more in my favor, right? I now have my posture back. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna essentially crossface him. I'm gonna take the far arm, I'm gonna reach, and I'm gonna grab his lat. The exact same way that I crossface someone from the top, I'm gonna crossface him from the bottom to induce movement. So again, I'm staying on the shoulder, I'm cross-facing him. So I'm grabbing his lat with my fingers, and I'm gonna drive my shoulder right into his jaw, which is gonna turn him away. Now it's time to get up. So from here, I'm gonna start to bridge into him, and now I'm just gonna do our standard hip escape. I bring my hips back, and my knee shield comes in. Now guess what, guys? Once I'm in this position, you know where we're going. We're gonna swim our frame in, up, and out. Now I'm back to the safety of the seated guard, okay? There's a lot of little details that go into staying safe at this late stage, and you need to stay calm and relaxed when you're trying to do them. The more you freak out and move, the more they take advantage of that and start to attack better and better positions, along with submissions. Let's look at this again. He's on top, he's beaten everything I threw at him, he's cross-facing me, he's under. Life is terrible. Cup the shoulder, turn away, get your shoulder framing up. You hear my voice change, right? Number one, number two. I get a little bit of breathing time. Turn in, grab the lat. I bridge and get my knee frame right back up into his hip. From here, guys, look, I don't want to hold him down. I want to get him off. So my frames come back. I build up to my backside elbow frame, and my hip escape takes me away to manage distance. Okay, guys, I'll show one more time slowly without talking, so that way I'm not getting my face like all bundled up when I'm trying to explain. All right, here we go. And then I'm right back to the seated guard where we started with in tonight's lesson. All right, guys, so late stage defense. If you need to do this, you messed up way long ago, but it's inevitable. So let's take a few minutes to drill this, and then we'll start doing some rolling. Any questions? Let's go, 1, 2. Is it recording? Okay. Sorry, guys, we had some technical issues. You know how we like to get your lessons available for you guys, so let's go and run it back. Hey, Seth. Yeah, thanks, man. Don't worry, I'll entertain you guys any way I can. Yeah, 2 preset. Nice. I'll put this in for bloopers at the end. How about that?